my channel. I am here with my best friend, Coffee. It is 4 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. I just had a 25-minute nap that felt like an hour, so it's a pretty good day. Anyways, I thought I would take a break and talk about why and how I'm in Ireland. I also asked you guys over on Instagram the other day to submit any questions you had for me about this topic, so I'm going to go through those questions at the end of this video. Before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me over on Running in Scrubs. I first applied to medical school at the start of my 4th year, so my last year of university. Didn't get in, so then I applied again right after I graduated university the following year. It was during that application cycle that my mom actually said to me, "Why don't you apply to Ireland?" And I was like, "Mom, why?" I'd never thought about going abroad for medical school. She had heard some really good things about the med schools over there, and it was becoming quite apparent to both myself and my family that med school is really competitive. I always thought that I sort of ticked all those boxes that they were looking for, and I had doctors and people on admissions committees telling me I was a really good candidate. So I guess I kind of thought that at some point it would happen for me, but it was dawning on me that year that it might not. There were so many other applicants that were just like me, and there's only so many med school spots. So I thought I'll apply and just see what happens. I didn't think I would get in, and I definitely hadn't decided at that stage that I would actually go. So I did that, and about 2 months later, I got an email from one of the medical schools that I'm actually at now, inviting me to come for an interview in Toronto. Went to the interview, it went really well. 6 days later, I got an email from RCSI saying that I had gotten into medical school. And for 24 hours, it was, woohoo, I got into medical school. You know, it's that moment that you dream is gonna happen for you. Then quickly reality set in, and I had a big decision to make. And there were 3 kind of major things that I kept thinking about in terms of making that decision. So number 1 was the cost. It's not cheap to be an international medical student. The second thing was leaving my friends, my family, and my boyfriend behind. I heavily relied on that support system in university, and now I was going to put myself in a way more stressful situation and take my support system away. That was a big thing to consider. The third thing was, you know, I ultimately would want to practice medicine back in Canada, and what roadblocks was I going to face in trying to come back to Canada. On the other hand, I was thinking about what would I do if I stayed in Canada for another year? How would I kind of beef up my application to increase my chances of getting into school here? At the time, I was working as a research assistant for a pediatric electrophysiologist at BC Children's doing clinical research, and I enjoyed that. The topic is super interesting. I'm still involved in that research now. And the team was incredible. I thought the next logical step would be to do a master's. My heart just wasn't in it, and I was worried that I would take that spot away from a student that really wanted to do a master's and deserved to be in a master's program, and that I felt wasn't fair to whoever that person was. I also thought that if I did a master's program and stayed here, there was no guarantee that I would ever get into medical school at the end of the day. I could be 2 or 3 years down the road and then decide, well, maybe I'll apply to Ireland again and not get in. You know, this was an opportunity right in front of me to pursue my dream, and it may never come back again. That was a big fear of mine. I guess at the end of the day, the thing that I really kept coming back to was, what an adventure. There are not many people that get to look back on their life and say they lived in another country. And not only was I gonna have that opportunity, but I was gonna do that while going to medical school. And that's a really unique opportunity. I just thought this is a really cool way for me to mature as a person, to have a lot of personal growth, really challenge myself, put myself out of my comfort zone, and see what I'm capable of achieving. I just didn't think that I would get that if I stayed here. And at the end of the day, I felt that that would really make me a better person, and more importantly, make me a better doctor in the future. And that just became so important to me, and something that I felt was irreplaceable. So yeah, obviously I ultimately decided to go. I was fortunate to have overwhelming support from my family and my boyfriend. They were like, go, you're crazy for even thinking about staying. So that was really nice to have their support, and kind of made all the difference. It's definitely not easy being an international student. I won't sugarcoat it. I think it's just difficult being a med student in general, but I've really loved it so far. I've had a wonderful experience. I'll talk more about what life is like in Dublin and what my med school is like when I'm back there, because right now I'm in Canada, so I can't really show you anything. But once I'm back in September, I'll definitely show you more about what my life is like living over in Ireland. So now let's get on to the questions that you guys submitted. Mom, I'm filming, you're making noise. She's making so much noise. So the first one is, are there many Canadians over there with you? Yes, there are tons. My class is 71 and about 20-ish are from Canada, and that's just my program. I mean, there's lots of other programs and other schools, so tons of Canadians. You're never alone. What was the application process like? So the application process for Ireland is actually quite simple. If you're from North America, you apply through this program called Atlantic Bridge in the US, which submits your application on your behalf, so you don't apply directly to the medical schools. When I applied 2 years ago, it was just a quick form you filled out, add your CV, you had to write a quick essay, and then you basically just tick off the schools you want to apply to and send them off. So really simple, and I liked that it was just one application for all the schools. It's definitely not any easier to get into the schools. They still have that same high level of standard that they're looking for in candidates, but the process is easier, which is nice. So how was Ireland versus Canada in terms of applications for med school? So as I said, Ireland you do through Atlantic Bridge, one application, really easy. Canada, for the most part, you apply to each school individually. That just makes it much more complicated. I also like that it was fast, so within a month and a bit of me submitting my application, I was invited for the interview, and then 6 days after my interview, I got my acceptance offer. So I knew in a very short period of time what my next year was going to look like. What is it like in Ireland? It's the best. The country is beautiful, the people are 10 times better. It's been so welcoming, easy to adjust, and if you're outdoorsy, it's the perfect country to live in. There's tons of hiking, and despite what people say, the weather's not actually that bad. What are the pros or cons of being an international student? Okay, some of the pros, I guess I've already talked about, like the fact that you get to live in a new country really challenges you and helps you grow as an individual. I think one of my favorite things about being an international student and being in an international school is I've gotten to interact with so many different students from all around the world that I probably would have never had the chance to meet if I wasn't where I am now. I also like being close to Europe because you can travel for really cheap, which is awesome. Some of the cons, cost is enormous. Being away from friends and family can be tough. I lost my grandfather during medical school last year, and I wasn't here, and that was really, really hard to go through that by yourself. So it definitely challenges you, but with technology these days, you know, you've got Skype, FaceTime, texting, your family's only a phone call away. I guess the major con that a lot of people will probably want to know about is the road coming back to Canada, the US, or wherever you're from. And yes, it's not easy, but I think if you work hard, if you're smart about it in terms of kind of planning ahead and anticipating the things that you need to do, you'll be okay. You just have to be flexible and keep an open mind, and it's kind of all a part of the big adventure that you're on. What do you want to do after medical school? I'd like to do rural family medicine is kind of where I want to go. Oh, this is a really good question. Did you consider med school in the US, and if so, what made you choose not to apply or attend? So yeah, as a Canadian student, obviously, or maybe obviously, the first kind of choice would be to go to the US. And for me, it just wasn't the right decision, only because I thought if I'm gonna go away from medical school, you know, separate myself from my friends and family, move to another country, I kind of just want to like dive right in, and I just felt if I went to the US it wouldn't be different enough for me. So I thought that if I was gonna go away, I'd rather go somewhere really far like Ireland versus closer to home. So do you find that you're prepared for the Canadian and American board tests? Don't really know, to be honest, because I'm only writing step 1 in a couple weeks, and that's the first exam that I'm writing. So far I feel good. The school is definitely well versed in these board exams. So at my school there's been a lot that's been facilitated by the school in terms of peer tutoring. They gave us access to Pathoma and UWorld, so that's been really good. And then there's also just like students in older years will pass down books or pass down information or offer tutoring sessions, so that's been really good so far. Okay, so that was all the questions. Thanks for submitting those, and I hope I was able to answer them. If you have any other questions or need more clarification, feel free to comment down below in the comments and I'll get back to you on there. I am going to go back to my whiteboard. I'm doing the TCA cycle, urea cycle, all that nasty biochem for STEP studying today. So I've got to get back to that. But that's all for this week. Please subscribe to my channel, give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and let me know down below what videos you'd want to see in the future. Bye.